Guys, welcome to our podcast. Today we are set up a little bit unconventionally. We are recording remotely. Gustavo is here with me and actually not here with me, but he is on this episode streaming from his house and I am from mine.
My dungeon.
Yeah, really, it does look like a dungeon. So I wanted to just discuss what our current thoughts are on everything that's happening. It's been about maybe 2 weeks since things started to progress pretty significantly, and it started with some precautions and some measures that they were recommending that we take as realtors. And now it's to the point where non-essential businesses are closed in Connecticut, and we, for the most part, have shifted. Or I really shouldn't say for the most part. We actually have entirely shifted virtually at this point, and we have our office staff working from home. We are all working remotely. We're tuning in via Zoom and these video conferences for our meetings. And so I just wanted to kind of have a discussion with you and see what your thoughts are. How you've been handling the pandemic so far?
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you said that you started off, because I never actually thought about how quickly it all happened. Actually, we never had that conversation. 1 week we were all just at the office, and then from one day to the other, I know we spoke about it for a few days, whether or not the office was going to remain open or what we were going to do. But it all seemed like it happened fairly quickly. So you're right, but I didn't think about it. Today, it's really the only day that I haven't left my house so far. And I already don't know what to do with myself, I have to be honest. Dude, I ate 6 times already today.
Yeah, it's tough.
Did you see my status on Facebook, by the way?
I think what was it about the office?
Yes.
I saw that. First lunch.
I had breakfast, first lunch, second lunch, and I actually just had first dinner.
Yeah.
I'm being serious. Dude, it's 5:30. I really don't know what to do. Don't know what to do.
No, it's tough. I mean, I don't know. I assume that you're like me and working from home is a challenge. And so I was talking about this earlier on our team meeting, how important it is for us to try to bring some sort of structure or consistency to our days or working from home days, because otherwise it's very, very difficult for you to manage your time and manage your days when you're not going anywhere. I mean, I shared with the team that this week I made it a point to actually continue getting up early and getting ready as if I were going to leave the office, but really I was just going to stay home. But that's really
walk into the living room.
Yeah, I mean, people make fun of me when they see that I'm in jeans and dressed all day. They're like, why are you dressed? Where have you been going? I said, nowhere, but it's.
Wait, you're actually wearing pants right now though?
I wanted to. I saw a Zoom call on Instagram where a girl accidentally forgot that she was recording and she took her laptop into the bathroom. She had like 10 people on the screen, and you should have seen all of the reactions. It took her a while to notice, and everyone was like, "Oh no, Jenny, no!"
But nobody logged off, right? They could have all just left.
Oh man, it's like my worst nightmare right now.
Yeah, it's not having the bathroom door open.
All right. So anyway, so having said all of that, we're doing a lot of adapting to a new norm, really, and we could talk extensively about that, but I think what's most important right now is for us to discuss really what our thoughts are, or what we're seeing in the marketplace, and how we feel this is affecting us both on an immediate basis and what we're hearing is going to happen on a long-term basis. Because right now that's a big question, particularly with our clients that we either have under contract on the buying side or on the listing side. We've already seen in just 2 short weeks how things have been reversed. People have chosen to walk away, or people have chosen to take their houses off the market. And so we certainly are seeing an immediate effect.
Sure.
And so I was hoping to kind of talk with you about what your thoughts are on that, and what reassurance, if any, we can give people that are concerned about where this takes the real estate market and what it means for the future.
So you said a lot now, and I'm trying to figure out where I should pick up. Like,
So
I mean,
okay. So how
the
about,
number one thing that we're seeing is fear. I mean, that's really, if we had to sum up this whole thing, I guess it would just be fear. Now, if you're asking me what are they being fearful of, I guess it's just the uncertainty of the market, or just the economic system as a whole, maybe. But I mean, my words of wisdom, I suppose, because we're really nobody to predict where this is going to go, is this too shall pass, right? I mean, it always does. We just don't know how long it's going to take, how it's going to affect us in the short term. But at the end of the day, like, I mean, if we have this conversation in 5 years again, it's just going to be either, either people, getting what's the word I'm looking for? Either people missing out on things because they didn't take chances, or just people that are taking this as a lesson in order to be better prepared for the next one. Because things like this happen every so often.
yeah. Well, I think, I mean, you're right. The fear is being driven by the uncertainty. And so, I mean, I share that sentiment, and as a business owner, I'm obviously hoping for the best, but the reality is that I do need to plan for the worst. And so there's a lot of stuff that's been happening in the last couple of weeks in our real estate community, and that we've been a part of in terms of hopping on webinars and being part of a couple of seminars and community forums and discussions, both in the real estate community and outside of the real estate community, from big names like just recently we were on a webinar with the chief editor of Keeping Current Matters, which is a leading real estate news provider. And so we kind of are involving ourselves in that arena to really make ourselves aware as to what this actually means and where this is headed, and to kind of touch up on those conversations that we've been having with that community and that group. There's no denying that this is a dire time right now. I mean, there's no downplaying the severity of what we're living through right now, both in a practical manner and also on an economical level. So by no means am I trying to invalidate people's concerns or the severity of what we're living through, but we should really look at history as a reminder for us, or as some guide as to how we've weathered certain storms, and what lessons we've learned, and what big takeaways we can have. And one of the things that was discussed very frequently on the KCM webinar was that this that we're living through today is very reminiscent of 9/11 as opposed to 2008.
Right.
And
caused by a different thing.
What's that?
It was caused by something completely different, correct?
Right. And as tragic as 9/11 was, I mean, we're living through a tragic time right now anyway, but the reality was that in 9/11 we had an external, non-economically related factor disrupt an otherwise healthy economy.
Right.
And we can draw the similarities to today. Up until this pandemic started, we had a healthy economy. We had a very strong economy. We were on a historic expansion, and we were doing very well in the real estate front as well. There was a lot of movement, and there were a lot of transactions happening. People were buying and selling, and it wasn't until this outside factor disrupted that healthy flow. And now obviously everything has come to a standstill, and it just goes to show just how important every single gear and every corner and every section of the economy is, and
the
how
domino effect, right?
Yeah, how cohesive everything actually operates, because we've, like I said, it's been 2 weeks since this pandemic started significantly taking traction, and we're already seeing the dire repercussions of it. But the important thing to make note of is the fact that this is not fundamentally economically related or fundamentally related to the economy. And unlike 2008, where there was arguably a flaw within the system, which was the housing bubble that eventually led to the implosion of the economy, this is not something that speaks to the health of the economy or the health of the real estate market. This is something that is disrupting it, and because of it is more than likely to be temporary. Again, we don't have any crystal ball, and we really can't say as to when the relief will come or when this pandemic will end. But the reality is that once this does end, and in fact, I think I mentioned this to you earlier today on our call, as soon as we start to see signs of improvement, whether that's proof that this is under control or that the rates of infection or the rates of death start to decrease,
It's gonna start
I
flowing
think
back.
at that point, consumer confidence will start to come back. And that's all we need right now for things to start to stabilize, at least. It's not to say that everything that we've lost in the last few weeks will automatically be recovered. I don't think that it will be that easy, but at the same time, I think that there's a pause in consumer confidence right now. And as soon as we get over this major hurdle that we're trying to get over, I think that consumer confidence will start to come back and everything will start to fall back into its place. And there's certainly a pent up demand for people to get back to normalcy. So I think that that's on our side, which wasn't the case in 2008. People were what was the line that I used earlier? People were not going out because the economy was bad. Right now, the economy is bad because people are forced to not go out. So it's a little bit different than what was 2008.
We just don't know the extent of what that did to the economy right now. You know, the extent of people not spending money right now, the extent of money being injected into the economy. We don't know the damages that has caused yet. So we don't know how long this is going to go for. But like you said, it wasn't real estate related. I mean, there's no reason why things can't get better as soon as they start getting better with the whole virus thing,
Right.
because it was not an economical issue before.
Right. And and it's true that things are going to get more than likely get worse before they get better.
That's the
So
spirit.
what's that?
That's the spirit.
Well, yeah, I know it's a it's ominous, but I think it's true in this, and I don't necessarily mean in real estate, although I do think that it carries over into real estate, but also in the practical aspect of how this virus is progressing. It seems as though it is going to get worse before it gets better. And because of that, this isolation and the social distancing guidelines that we've now come to practice on a daily basis, and the closures and the halting of the economy, I think might be, one day is one day too many for not from a safety standpoint, but from an economical standpoint. And so longer it goes, the deeper we're going to feel the effects, and the stronger we're going to feel the effects. So what I was getting at was that we may start to see some unfortunate side effects from this, and we're already starting to see them with reduced hours and layoffs and restaurants closing, and already restaurants and businesses struggling to keep their staff afloat or
I
keep
think
the business
government having to be involved.
doors open. So those are unfortunate side effects that we can't ignore. But in the broad scheme of things, and as a larger picture for people that are looking ahead and thinking about what this means for their investments or what this means for their plans, I think that all signs are pointing to this being a lull in an otherwise very active and progressive economic cycle. KCM webinar alluded to the indication from Goldman Sachs and the Wells Fargo Investment Institution that they predict that Q3 and Q4 will actually be pretty strong. Well, I shouldn't say strong, but they will start to strengthen beginning in Q3 and going into Q4 of this year and entering Q1 of 2021. We'll see very strong numbers, and so I think that there's no question that the remainder of this quarter, majority, if not the entire Q2, is going to be very difficult, and we're going to need to plan for that. And whether that means making some cuts on our end, adapting or shifting how it is that we market ourselves, we are going to have to deal with that reality. This isn't something that we can ignore, but we're not heading down an endless dark tunnel. There is light at the end of the tunnel is the point I'm trying to make.
No, for sure. Makes sense.
How have you been handling your current deals right now? I know that you had a closing yesterday, but you also have had some that have been put on hold or either reversed entirely.
Yeah, so I have two
Can you
people
speak a
that
little bit to the front lines of this?
yeah. Yeah, so I have two people that are waiting to list their property out of fear of, first of all, exposure, and that's the virus, just the house itself to people. So they obviously, when you list your house, you want it to be seen by as many people as possible. And when people are fearful and they're on lockdown, obviously it kind of limits that. Like, it was explained to them that we're doing a lot of things differently and a lot of things, through digitally, I suppose, virtually. But obviously, if they're not comfortable, then we don't push for that, or we know that they'll list eventually. It's just a matter of time at this point. So we just try to support them however they can while still making them feel comfortable about the decision they're making. Other than that, I mean, I've had a few other buyers that decided to back out of their sale, not because they didn't want to purchase, but because they think there's a better opportunity coming along, which once
Interesting.
again, we're not, who knows?
Right, right.
No, because this could be the perfect storm in a sense. I mean, you have the stock market that's been going up for quite some time already, and it was, according to a lot of people, it was due for a correction already. You have real estate that's been doing very, very good for the last few years. So it could have been like the perfect storm in order to give us like a really strong correction. So maybe we will have some slowdowns, I guess, for the next year or two. Who knows? It could go either way. Yeah, that's the thing. But that's what I try to tell people. There's no point in guessing. There's no point in trying to figure it out. Just go with the flow, get educated, and just we'll figure it out. I mean, I know it sounds kind of stupid, but if you can't know for sure, I don't know,
Yeah.
like sitting on your money for 2 years, supposedly, if it takes 2 years, really a good idea? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's no, and we can draw conclusions from history and from data and research, and we can take educated guesses, which is essentially what we're doing by participating in these webinars and what
Actually,
KCM is
good
doing by.
point. Oh, how many of the last four recessions actually affected housing? Just two, right? And out of the two, one of them only affected it, what, 2%? Like it went down 2%. And the other one, obviously, in 2008 was caused by the housing, but by real estate related. It was real estate related, so that obviously affected it a lot. But everything else that was not caused directly through real estate has not really affected it that much, because that's where people want to park their money at the end of the day, most of the time.
Well, not only that, but it's usually where investors shift their funds when there's volatility in the stocks. So they tend to shift from the stock market to real estate when there's volatility or uncertainty. Um, but other than that, you made a good point about the effects of the most recent recessions. Um, I happened to write down some numbers from the KCM webinar, which said that the last two recessions, the last three recessions in the last decade, really, which we're going to refer to as 2008, the dot-com crash, and 9/11. I wouldn't say was a all-out recession, but certainly a downturn in the economy. As compared to how the stocks performed, housing always fared better in all of those cases. In 2008, as you mentioned, homes or housing, the housing market itself was the driving factor behind that crash. And so that we certainly saw a significant dip and drop in values in home prices because of that.
Makes perfect sense.
Right. But as compared to the stocks at that point, and for the numbers that they used was the S&P numbers, housing market depreciated 20% in 2008, whereas S&P depreciated 51%. So, I mean, there was a significant crash all across the board, including housing, but housing fared better than the stocks at that point. And if we go even farther back to 9/11 and the dot-com crash, S&P performed well, I should say the S&P depreciated 45% during those instances when you take the aggregate of those two, whereas housing actually increased 23% during the dot-com crash and 9/11. So where the stocks took a dive during the dot-com crash and 9/11, housing actually appreciated during those two instances, with the exception of 2008. But even then, the drop was less
Yes,
than
stock
the
market.
S&P
Yeah, so
500
it's people
average.
shifting their money from the stock market to real estate. It's a safe haven, I suppose, in a sense.
Right, right. So I think it all comes down to the reality that we just need to weather this storm. I we talked about this on our call with our team, and it's, I think, our duty to provide this type of value to our clients. I think that it's important for us to familiarize ourselves with the facts and data of what we're living through right now, compare it compare it to 2008, compare it to 9/11, compare it to the dot-com crash, so that we can learn from history,
Right.
in some capacity, predict with some degree of certainty. We're not going to be able to do it
It's just an educating.
100% certainly, but with some degree, what we should be doing today to prepare ourselves for when we come out on the back end of this. But at the same time, after, and I think that this is very important, because it doesn't even have to be something that we discuss internally. I think that any other agent that's listening to this, or anyone that's involved in real estate or any type of sales or whatnot, should really consider the significance of validating our consumers' concerns. You can present them with all of the data and research that you'd like. If at the end of the day they aren't comfortable moving forward, we really need to emphasize the importance of empathizing with them and validating those concerns and letting them know that we support their decision one way or the other, which is why I said to our team on this call, that I think is going to be the hardest pill to swallow with this entire process, because we have a lot of data that's telling us weather the storm, be patient, hold it out. This isn't going to be as bad as you think it's going to be, but the bills have to be paid today. And if our transactions are falling apart, the right thing morally, and I mean certainly morally, but ethically, and when it comes to taking care of your brand and your clients, the right thing for us to do is to reassure our clients that we are 100% behind their decisions, and we support them. And if that means losing deals right now, that's unfortunately going to be the hard pill to
That's the
swallow.
thing. It's not even losing deals. It's not losing deals. It's just putting them on hold. You know, if we do our job correctly, like you're saying, I mean, it's gonna happen eventually. It may not happen now. It may not happen in the next 30 days. It may not happen for the next 3 months, but it's gonna happen, and it's gonna have. It's gonna be, it's gonna happen because you take care of them, because you heard them out, because you really you try to make them feel better about what it is that they're trying to do, and you're with them.
No, you're right. And actually, I'm a firm believer that if we take that approach, if anyone takes that approach, that's why I was saying, if any other agents are listening, I think that it's very important for us to adopt this mentality, because now more than ever, it's so critically important for us to actually put our money where our mouth is, when, in a sense, by saying, we come from a point of service. We're here to help you. We're in the people business. And if you need anything, we're here to help get you that, and help you weather the storm.
Right.
But so even though I truly believe that if we give a little bit up now, it will repay exponentially in the future, I also don't want to be insensitive to the reality that, as I said earlier, the bills do need to be paid today. So if we put our business on hold for 2 months and say, don't worry, it'll pay back later this year, that's easier said than done. I mean, bills have to be paid in those 2 months. And so I don't want to seem insensitive by saying this. And surely, I'm of this mindset right now, because now I'm thinking, how am I going to adapt the next 2 months if our
What I
business is
do, I'm
significant?
doing online surveys.
What's that?
I'll send you an online survey that you can do for $5 later after this call.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll account for that. And now I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry. Good, because you probably couldn't afford the train anyways. No, you were saying that you understand that you have all this pressure to pay your bills and stuff like that, but you're of the same mindset, and that's where I cut you off.
Right. So the reality that we need to be okay with the fact that certain deals will need to be put on hold for a while. We need to back that up with the understanding and acceptance that it's the moral and right thing to do. And
The
that's
fiduciary.
why we need to shift. I'm sorry.
It's a fiduciary thing to do.
Right. It is a fiduciary duty.
I practiced that in my head, by the way, like 6 times before I said it.
You almost got it too.
Almost.
And so because we are approaching an uncertain couple of months, we need to shift. And as the community has been saying, pivot our plan in order to adapt to that reality that in 2 months, we don't know what's going to happen. But we cannot let the need for our bills to be paid today push us to the point where we become people that are trying to save a deal for the purpose of our own benefit. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we very, very badly need to avoid. And I think that there have been some people out there already that, like I said before, I don't know if they're well-intentioned or if they don't mean to be doing this, or if in fact they're doing it from a position of selfishness, but they might be putting out misleading information, misguiding their clients, or flat out lying about what the reality is that we're living in today for the sole purpose of keeping deals together and getting paid. And
Oh, no. A lot of people are not even trying to get educated about this and really try to figure out what's happening.
Right. A lot of them are
still don't even know.
They're still in spring market mode. They're still in the market's hot. Everything's moving. Call me if you want to buy, call me if you want to sell. And that by no means, I mean, that's the one I mean, not the one, but that's so many of what I see wrong, so much of what I see wrong right now. And I want to make sure that our team and anyone else that might be listening, if they get anything out of this, it's that this we need to really empathize and validate the concerns, and we can at every point and every opportunity provide them with value and information and data and research that says that things are going to be okay. But if their response to that is, okay, I appreciate the information, but I'm not comfortable moving forward right now, our response needs to be, I 100% support you. And we need to put things on hold, because that's how we need to establish our trust, or not so much establish, but that's how we need to reinforce our trust with our clients. That's how they're going to remember us at the back end and say, you know what, you were there for me. You weren't pushy. You were looking out for my best interest, and you were telling me what I needed to hear, and you respected my decision. And, that'll come back to us tenfold. And so for my team, for you, for anyone that's listening, I think that's a big takeaway from all of this. Kind of finding that balance between providing valuable information and easing people's concerns, while at the same time not losing the picture, not losing the human factor to it, the human element that is empathy and understanding people's fears and concerns.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
All right. Well, I have a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about, but we kind of spoken a lot of detail about this right now. So maybe we can.
I'll probably only said 3 things, to be honest, but that's fine. No problem.
No, yeah. So that's all right. So maybe what we can do is, I don't know how much longer this will go on for.
No, we're 30 minutes in. I think if you have other points, I think we should leave it for a second one.
No, that's what I mean. Seeing as how this might go on for at least another week or so.
I think you meant the recording.
No. I think we can leave our other discussions for next week. Then we'll come back and talk about some other points and talk about some of their concerns, and we'll field some questions. We'll talk to our clients and see what their thoughts or specific questions are, and see if we can answer them here.
For sure. Sounds good.
Right. Well, thanks so much for putting this together.
No problem.
And we'll talk next week then.
All right, man.
Bye, guys. Thank you.